Imagine for a moment that your life is like a grand tapestry being woven by God. Each thread, each color, each knot is part of a design you cannot fully see right now. We often look at the back of this tapestry, seeing only the tangle, the loose threads, and the lines that seem to make no sense. But God, the great creator, sees the front, the complete side. And here is the most beautiful mystery. The day of your birth was the exact moment he began weaving you into this masterpiece. Now, I want you to think about something very important. Your birth wasn't just a physical event. It wasn't just about a baby coming into the world. It was a spiritual event. The moment you were born, God breathed into you an eternal purpose. He placed something unique inside you, something no one else has. In Ephesians 2:10, the Bible says, "For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do." This means that even before you were born, God already knew the works you would do. He had already planted seeds within you that were waiting for the right moment to blossom. But just as a seed needs soil, water, and light to grow, God's plan for your life also needs something: your trust. And this is where many people get lost. They look at life's difficulties and think that God has forgotten them. But in fact, it's the opposite. The moments of difficulty are the fertile soil where God is cultivating your purpose. I want to share something deep with you now. Everything you have faced up to this point has a meaning. No suffering was in vain. No loss, no failure has been wasted. In Romans 8:28 we read, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose." All things, even those that seemed unjust or painful, are being used by God to shape you, to prepare you for something greater. Think of the strongest, wisest, and most inspiring people you know. They all went through storms, and it's because they trusted God that they were able to grow and flourish, even in the midst of difficulties. Now, I want you to reflect. What storm are you facing today? It might be a financial problem, a family crisis, a doubt about the future. It might even be an emptiness in your heart, as if something is missing in your life. I want you to know this: God is with you, even in the midst of the storm. He is working silently, shaping you, strengthening you, preparing you for the next chapter of your life. Jacobo Greenberg, in his studies on consciousness and spirituality, suggests that the greatest human transformations happen when we are challenged to go beyond our limits. For him, it's on the threshold of pain, doubt, and uncertainty that we access the deepest levels of our potential, and this connects deeply with the Christian message. God uses moments of crisis to take us to a higher place, to make us grow in faith, strength, and purpose. Now, I want to ask you a question. Do you feel like you are living out God's purpose for your life, or do you feel like you're just surviving? If your answer is that you are still trying to figure it out, I have good news for you. It is possible to find this purpose, but it requires two things. First, you need to seek God with all your heart. In Jeremiah 29:13, God promises us, "You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart." This means that the key to understanding God's plan lies in your intimacy with him. The closer you draw to God, the clearer his plans will become. Second, you need to be willing to take the next step, even without seeing the entire path. Often God shows us only a part of the plan. He gives us a direction, but expects us to trust him to take the next steps. Remember, faith is walking without seeing, knowing that God is ahead of you, opening the way. And here is something I want you to do now. Think about the day you were born. Think about the circumstances surrounding your arrival in this world. It may be that you were born in a time of joy, or perhaps in a time of difficulty. It doesn't matter. The fact is that you were born. You are here because God wanted you to be here, and that means he has a purpose for you. Comment below, "I accept God's purpose for my life." Declare this with faith, because when you accept God's purpose, you take the first step toward discovering the reason why you were born. And I want to remind you, God's plan for you is bigger than you can imagine. In Isaiah 55:9, God tells us, "As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts." This means that even when you don't understand what's happening, God sees the bigger picture. He knows where you are now, and He knows where you are going. I want you to stay with me, because in the next part of this video, we are going to explore something even deeper, how the gifts and talents that God has placed within you directly connect to His plan for your life. I will show you how to discover these gifts and how to use them to fulfill the mission God has given you. And at the end, I will reveal the most important message of all, something that can completely transform the way you view your purpose. For now, I want you to keep this in your heart. You were born with a purpose. The day of your birth was a milestone in God's plan. And every day of your life, even the toughest ones, is leading you to something greater. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, do it now. Leave a like, share this video, and help spread this message of hope and light. We are together on this journey, and the best is yet to come. Stay with me, because God has something powerful to reveal to you. Have you ever stopped to think how the gifts and talents you carry are not random abilities, but an essential part of God's plan for your life? God doesn't make mistakes. Everything He has placed within you, your way of thinking, your dreams, your passions, even your difficulties, was planned with a purpose. Now take a moment and reflect. Have you been using these gifts? Have you allowed God to show you how to turn what He has placed in you into something great? What I am about to share with you can completely change the way you view yourself. Every person born, including you, carries a unique set of talents and abilities that were planned by God before birth. In 1 Peter 4:10 we read, "Each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms." Notice what this means. Your gifts are not just for you, but for the world around you. They are like seeds planted in your heart, waiting to grow and bear fruit, not only for your life, but to impact others. I want to tell you a story. Imagine a young man who was born with the gift of music. He didn't know how to use this talent. For years, he only played for himself as a hobby, until one day, in a moment of prayer, he felt God telling him, "This gift is bigger than you think. It's not just for you. It's so that people can connect with me through what you play." And in that moment, something changed. He began using music to help others feel God's presence, and that transformed not only his life, but the lives of many others. Now, I want you to look at yourself. What are the gifts God has given you? Perhaps you are someone who inspires others with your words. Maybe you have an artistic talent, or you are someone who has a special ability to help and care for those around you. It doesn't matter what your gift is. It's important. It is part of the plan. God never gives a gift without a purpose. He never places something in you without the intention of using it for something great. And if you don't know what your gifts are yet, don't worry. Discovery is part of the journey. Often God reveals our gifts along the way as we move forward in faith. It is in the doing, in the seeking, that we find the answers. In Matthew 7:7, Jesus tells us, "Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and the door will be opened to you." This means that if you seek to understand your purpose, if you seek to use the gifts God has given you, He will show you. He will open the doors. But here is a crucial point. Your gifts were not meant to stay hidden. Often fear paralyzes us. Perhaps you feel that you're not good enough, that you're not ready, that it's not the right time. But remember, God doesn't call the equipped. He equips the called. If He has given you something, He will also give you the resources and strength to use it. Don't let fear stop you from fulfilling God's plan for your life. Fear does not come from God. In 2 Timothy 1:7, it is written, "For God did not give us a spirit of timidity, but a spirit of power, of love, and of self-discipline." Now think about your life up to this point. How many times have you felt there was something greater inside you, something waiting to manifest? Maybe you ignored it, thinking it wasn't important, or maybe you postponed it. But the truth is that God's timing is now. If you're hearing this message, it's not by chance. It is a call for you to awaken. It is an invitation to begin exploring the gifts God has placed in you and use them for the purpose He has planned for your life. I want you to do something important now. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, what has God placed inside of me? What is the gift He wants me to use for the world? Maybe the answer won't come immediately, but start paying attention to the signs. God speaks through inspirations, encounters, and situations that deeply move us. He is always trying to guide us, always trying to show us the way. And remember, it doesn't matter where you are right now. It doesn't matter if you feel like you've passed the age or that you're too young. It doesn't matter if you think you are too far from God or that you've made too many mistakes. God is not concerned with your past. He is looking at your future. He is ready to use you exactly as you are, where you are. He is an expert at transforming lives, at using ordinary people to do extraordinary things. And this leads me to an even deeper message. Have you ever stopped to think that even in your weaknesses, God can show His strength? In 2 Corinthians 12:9, Paul says, "But He said to me, 'My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness.'" This means that even when you feel incapable, even when you think you're not enough, God is working. He uses our weaknesses to show His glory. He transforms the areas where we are most vulnerable into testimonies of His strength. So here's what I want you to do now. Trust. Trust in God's plan. Trust in the gifts He has placed in you. And trust that even in the areas where you feel weakest, He is working. I want you to write in the comments now, "I trust the gifts God has placed in me." Declare this with faith because there is power in your words. There is power when you align with God's purpose. If you've made it this far, know that something big is starting to move in your life. God is speaking to you now. He's calling you to something greater, something you might not fully see yet, but trust. He is in control. In the next part of this video, we will dive into the deepest part of all, how you can start living God's plan today without waiting any longer. I will share a revelation that can completely change the direction of your life. Stay with me, because the best is yet to come. If this message is touching your heart, subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. Together, we will spread the light and hope that comes from God. And remember, you are loved, you are chosen, and you are part of something much bigger. Now imagine that today you decide to take the first step in living God's plan. Imagine you wake up tomorrow with a new vision, a new purpose, a flame burning inside you. How would that be? What would change in your life? I want you to reflect on this as we dive even deeper into the message God has for you. It all starts with the decision to say yes to God's calling. But often this decision requires courage. Courage to let go of what no longer serves you, to step out of your comfort zone, and to trust in something greater. Maybe you feel like you're carrying weights that aren't yours. Maybe you are stuck in situations, relationships, or even thoughts that prevent you from seeing God's purpose. And here's the truth. God did not create you to live in prison. He created you to be free, to live in fullness. In John 10:10, Jesus says, "I have come that they may have life and have it to the full." This means that God's will for you is to live a life full of purpose, joy, and meaning. But to live this life, you need to make choices. You need to be willing to leave behind everything that pulls you away from God. And here's something powerful. When you let go of what no longer serves you, God makes space for something new. He starts working in you, shaping your heart, aligning your steps with His plan. It's like a tree that needs to be pruned to bear more fruit. The pruning can be painful, but it's necessary, and God, as the loving gardener He is, knows exactly what needs to be removed so you can grow. I want to remind you of something important. God's plan is not something distant, something reserved for the future. It is happening right now, at this very moment. Every day, every decision, every step you take is part of that plan. And here's the secret. When you align with God, even the simplest things in your life begin to take on a new meaning. Your work, your relationships, even the challenges you face, everything begins to be part of a greater purpose. And this brings me to a crucial point. How can you start living God's plan today? Here are 3 fundamental steps that can help you. First, seek God in prayer. Prayer is the bridge that connects your heart to God's heart. It's where you find direction, strength, and peace. And remember, prayer doesn't need to be complicated. It can be as simple as a sincere conversation with God. Tell Him what's on your heart. Ask for wisdom. Ask for clarity. And above all, be willing to listen. Often God speaks in silence, in stillness. He may answer through a sense of peace and inspiration, or even a word you hear in this video. Here is the translation into American English. Secondly, start acting with faith. Many people wait to have all the answers before taking action, but the truth is that faith requires movement. In Hebrews 11:1 we read, "Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen." This means you don't need to have everything planned. Just take the next step, trusting that God is in control. Maybe your next step is to start a new project, seek reconciliation with someone, or even dedicate more time to your spirituality. Whatever it is, take the step with faith, knowing that God is with you. And third, serve others with the gifts that God has given you. Remember, your gifts are not just for you. They are to impact the world around you. When you use your talents to help others, you not only fulfill God's plan, but also experience a joy that can only come from Him. Serve with love, humility, and an open heart, and know that by doing so, you are planting seeds that will bear eternal fruit. Now I want you to think about this. What can you do today to align more with God's plan? Maybe it's something small, like setting aside a few minutes to pray, or maybe it's something bigger, like making a decision you've been putting off. Whatever it is, start now. Don't wait. Time is a gift, and God wants you to use it to fulfill the purpose He has placed in you. And I want you to comment below, "I choose to live God's plan today." Write this as a commitment, as a declaration of faith. And remember, every step you take toward God's purpose is a step toward true freedom, true joy. Now I want to share something even deeper with you. Many of us carry wounds from the past, pains that make us question whether we are worthy of God's love, or if we are capable of fulfilling the plan He has for us. Maybe you've been hurt by words, by people, or even by decisions you've made. But I want you to know this: God does not look at you with judgment. He looks at you with love. He sees your potential, not your mistakes. He sees who you can become, not who you were. In Isaiah 43:18-19, God tells us, "Forget the former things, do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing, now it springs up. Do you not perceive it?" This means that God is constantly doing something new in your life. He is not bound by your past, and you don't have to be either. He is a God of new opportunities, of new beginnings. No matter what happened before, today is the day you can decide to start over. Today is the day you can say yes to God's plan with the certainty that He is by your side. I want you to keep this in your heart. You are loved. You are chosen. God has a perfect plan for your life, and He is working right now, even if you can't see it. Trust in Him. Seek Him. And remember, the day of your birth was only the beginning of an incredible journey, a journey that is still being written by God's hands. If this message has touched your heart, subscribe to the channel, give a like, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. And in the next and final segment of this video, I will share the most powerful revelation of all, something that can completely transform the way you see your life. Stay with me, because what's coming next is something you can't miss. God has something extraordinary reserved for you. Now we come to the most important moment of this message. It's the moment when everything connects. If you've made it this far, it's because God is speaking directly to your heart. He is calling you to something greater, something you may not fully understand yet. But know this, you were born for an extraordinary purpose. You were born to fulfill a unique mission, chosen by God Himself. And what I'm about to share can change the way you see your life and the future God has prepared for you. Think about this. God doesn't look at you the way the world does. The world often defines us by our achievements, our mistakes, or even by what other people say about us. But God sees something completely different. He looks at you and sees a beloved child, someone He formed with His own hands, someone who carries His divine essence. On the day you were born, God looked at you and said, "Here is my son, my daughter, in whom I have an eternal purpose." Nothing can change that. Nothing can erase the plan He wrote for you. But here is the truth that many of us forget. God's plan for our lives doesn't happen automatically. It requires a response. It requires us to say yes to the call. And often, this decision requires faith. Faith to trust God when the path seems uncertain. Faith to keep moving forward when we don't understand what's happening. Faith to believe that even in difficulties, God is in control. I want to share something with you that can transform your perspective. Many people think that God can only use them when they are perfect, when they no longer have flaws or weaknesses. But that's not true. God uses imperfect people to accomplish perfect plans. He used Moses, who had difficulty speaking, to free the people of Israel. He used David, a simple shepherd, to defeat giants. He used Peter, who denied Jesus, to lead the church. And He can use you, exactly as you are, to fulfill something extraordinary. And here is the most powerful revelation of all. The day of your birth was the beginning of a mission that only you can fulfill. God didn't create you to be a copy of someone else. He created you with a unique purpose, something no one else can do. Maybe you are wondering, but how can I discover what my purpose is? How can I know what God wants from me? And the answer is simple but profound. Seek God with all your heart, and He will show you. In Jeremiah 33:3, God makes us a promise. "Call to me, and I will answer you and tell you great and unsearchable things you do not know." This means that God is ready to reveal to you what He has prepared for you. All you have to do is seek. But there is an important detail. God's purpose for your life is not just about you. It is bigger than you. It is about how your life can impact the world around you, how you can be a reflection of God's love and grace for others. Maybe you are destined to inspire, to heal, to teach, to lead. Maybe your purpose lies in the small acts of kindness that deeply touch someone's life. Whatever it is, know that your impact is greater than you can imagine. I want to ask you a question now. Are you willing to say yes to God's plan? Are you willing to trust Him even without understanding everything? Are you willing to use the gifts He has given you to make a difference in the world? If your answer is yes, I want you to declare it now in the comments. Write, "I say yes to God's plan for my life." Write this as a declaration of faith, as a commitment to follow the path God has prepared for you. And I want to remind you of something important. It is never too late to start. No matter where you are now, no matter how many mistakes you've made, God is always ready to give you a fresh start. He is the God of second chances, the God who transforms lives, the God who makes all things new. In Revelation 21:5, He declares, "I am making all things new." This means that regardless of what has happened in the past, your future is in God's hands, and the best is yet to come. Now, I want you to reflect one last time. Close your eyes for a moment and ask yourself, am I living the purpose for which I was created? If the answer is no, know that today could be the day when everything changes. Today could be the day you begin walking the path God has prepared for you. And remember, you are not alone. God is with you every step of the way. He is guiding you, strengthening you, equipping you. All he asks from you is trust. Trust that he knows what is best for you. Trust that he is in control. Trust that his plan is bigger and better than anything you could ever imagine. And if you have watched this video until the end, I want you to write in the comments, "I am committed to God's plan for my life." Write this as an act of faith, as a declaration that you are ready to live the purpose for which you were born. If this message touched your heart, subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Let's together spread the light and hope that come from God. And remember, you are loved, you are chosen, you were born for something extraordinary. May God bless you and guide you every step of the way. The journey is just beginning, and I am here with you, cheering and praying that you reach everything God has prepared for you. Until next time, and may divine peace always be in your heart.